In this video, we'll introduce the first 3 steps of the Tennessee Evidence Framework. This video, plus the next one that covers evidence, are both foundational for completing the Evidence and Impact section of the Evidence-Based Budgeting Forms. This is the Tennessee Evidence Framework, developed with the consultation and support of Pew's National Results First Initiative and a team of research experts in Tennessee. It is designed to standardize the language we use to classify programs in Tennessee based on the level of available evidence supporting the program. In this model, 5 evidence steps build from left to right. First, we believe that, even if it's not documented, every program has a logic model or a theory of action. Often we refer to the distilled version as an if-then statement. So, if we do X, Y, and Z, then we expect to see A, B, and C. Outputs are process measures, which are often collected and used to support continuous improvement. These are often part of a performance management process or a project plan. Outcomes are impact statements, or the program's measures and related data that demonstrate change in participants and/or systems over time. Evaluation and causal evidence indicate that the program is supported by at least one rigorous evaluation with a comparison group. Drawing your attention to the arrows above the steps, the arrows push us left to right up the steps toward rigorous evaluation. Note that the expectation is set at green, or outcomes, because we acknowledge that it may not be appropriate, ethical, or otherwise possible to conduct a rigorous evaluation for some programs. And we know that conducting these studies can require significant time and resource investment. However, the expectation is that all programs are operating with a foundation of sound logic, collecting process data, and measuring outcomes. Let's dive a little deeper into these first 3 evidence steps. The next 2 will be covered in the evidence video. Logic models are often required for federal grants or other financial awards and can be a helpful planning and implementation tool. They can take various forms with varying levels of depth, but they always include 5 key elements: program context, inputs, activities, outputs, and outcomes. For the purposes of the evidence-based budgeting form, a high-level if-then statement will be required. This high-level if-then statement documents the logical progression of the project from its inputs to its outcomes. To write a concise if-then statement that covers the overall program vision, consider breaking the model into the process and outcomes elements. For example, if we allocate these inputs resources to complete these activities, then we will see these short midterm outcomes, resulting in these long-term outcomes. Even if it's not documented, every program will have implicit logic. If it doesn't already exist, it may be necessary to draft an if-then statement to include in any cost increase or reduction forms. Outputs are the concrete, countable results of activities. Often, these are the products or services that can be measured in tangible terms, like dollars spent, number of people served, number of items delivered, etc. These measurements should be specific to the program, and for existing programs, outputs should reflect data that is currently being collected. Again, these will often be part of existing program management systems or project plans. The evidence-based budgeting forms will ask for the 3 to 5 outputs that give the best immediate insight into the program for those who are unfamiliar. Outcomes are the impact of the program's inputs, activities, and outputs. They are changes in behavior or benefit over time in a specified direction. They can be identified in terms of short, mid, and long-term changes. In this delineation, you can think about it this way. Short-term outcomes demonstrate how an individual benefits over time. Long-term outcomes demonstrate how the program produces organizational or system-level changes over time. Often, outcomes contain elements of SMART, specific, measurable, time-bound. However, it is important to distinguish between SMART goals, which are aspirational and future-looking, versus SMART outcomes, which are present and past-looking, a real-time measurement of what's happening. The evidence-based budgeting forms will ask for up to 3 outcomes, not goals. One more quick note about outputs and outcomes. They are often informed by reporting requirements and the data needed for programmatic decisions. In other words, performance or program management systems currently in place most likely collect this information already. They may overlap with or reflect the strategic planning work your agency does in partnership with CFG, or in some cases independently. Outputs and outcomes should be consistent with any existing logic models. Refer to the other short videos for guidance on how and where to identify evidence and completing the current year's evidence-based budgeting forms. Please utilize the resources available on the budget website, and don't hesitate to reach out to your budget analyst or the OEI team with questions.